Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you once again to Buchi Online Maths. Today, I want us to study this topic together, which is called indices. Indices is important in mathematics because there are so many questions examiners can ask you from the topic. Also, if you understand indices, it will help you to understand some other topics in mathematics. Therefore, I want you to pay attention so that you will see how I will explain this topic. And I'm going to do that using examples. Therefore, pay adequate attention. Before you understand indices, you will first of all understand the laws that govern indices. These are the laws of indices, and this is the area everybody wants you to pay attention, because these laws govern every step you want to take in solving a particular question in indices. From the first law to the last law, all of them are all important. And that is why I am here today. I will explain these laws one after the other with examples so that you'll be able to understand this topic called indices. Before I go on, please do not forget that indices is the plural form of index. Okay? If I have 3 raised to power 2, 2 is the index, while 3 is the base. Okay? If I have 5 raised to power 4 times 5 raised to power 3, for instance, 4 and 3 are the indices. Okay? So we say indices when we have more than one index. That means indices is the plural form of index. That is just what I want you to understand. Okay, having said that, let us now go and explain the laws of indices. These are the laws that govern indices. And the first law, which is law 1, says a raised to power m, a raised to power n equals a raised to power m plus n. Now, what this first law means is anytime we have a common base, here you can see we have a common base, which is base A, and we have indices, which are m and n. And please do not forget that indices can be called powers. Okay, so m and n can be called powers, or they can be called exponents. Exponents, okay? So these are the two other names we can call them. We can call indices powers or exponents. So this is the same thing as a raised to power m and a raised to power n. Okay, please don't forget that. Now, if I have this, which involves a common base, which is base A, and they are multiplying each other here, indices says just bring one of the bases, which is A, and add up the powers together. So that is why you see a raised to power m plus n. Whenever you have a common base and they are multiplying each other, just bring down one of the bases and add up the powers. That is what the first law of indices states. Now let us see an example of this. Assuming we have 5 raised to power 4 times 5 raised to power 3. Okay? And you want to solve this. This is simply the same thing as, because we have a common base, which is base 5. Remember here, just bring down one of the 5 and add up the powers. Okay, or the indices. and this will give you 5. 4 plus 3 will give you 7. So this is the answer to this. In case somebody asks you to solve this, what the person wants you to do is just to observe the law of indices, which is law number 1, known as law of multiplication. Whenever you have a common base multiplying each other, just bring down one of the bases and add up the powers. So here we have 5 as the common base. So what we did was to bring down one of the 5 and add up the powers, and this will give us 5 raised to power 7. So this is how to explain the first law of indices. Okay, now let's go to the second law of indices. Let us explain the second law of indices. Second law of indices is the law of division, which says a raised to power m divided by a raised to power n. If we have something like this, a raised to power m divided by a raised to power n, that is common base, which is base a, they are being divided. Therefore, what we will do is to bring down one of the bases a and subtract n from m. So it's going to be m minus n. Okay, so this is how to simplify something like this in indices. Let us use the example to explain this. If I have 3 raised to power, okay, if I have 3 raised to power 4, okay, divided by 3 raised to power 2, this will give me 3 raised to power 4 minus 2, and this will give me 3 raised to power what? 2, because 4 minus 2 will give me 2. So the answer here is 3 raised to power what? 2. And you know that 3 raised to power 2 means 3 times 3, which is what? 9. Okay, so this is how you can simplify this type of question, which is typically the law of division. Just observe the law of division that says whenever you have common base and they are being divided, just bring down one of the bases and subtract n from m. Subtract 2 from 4. That is why you see 4 minus 2. Okay, so that is how we can explain the second law. Now let's go to the third law. Let's go to the third law. The third law says if we have a raised to power m, then raised to power n. This is the same thing. Here we are dealing with only one base. This is the same thing as a raised to power mn. Okay, and if you have something like this, it means multiplication. It means m times n, and then bracket means multiplication as well. So it means that m is multiplied by n. Okay, so let's see an example of this. If I have 5 raised to power 2 bracket 3, this is the same thing as 5 raised to power 2, okay, times 3, and this will give us 5 raised to power 6. Okay, so this is how we can explain this law. Anytime you see something like this in indices, it means 2 times 3, which we have depicted here, and this is the answer to that question. Now let's go to the fourth law. The fourth law is called the inverse law, okay, in indices. It is called law of inverse. If I have a over b all raised to power minus m divided by n, okay, this is a negative index, and anytime we want to remove negative index in indices, what we do is to take the reciprocal of the term inside the bracket. Reciprocal of a over b is b over a. Just turn it upside down. Because if you have 2, reciprocal of 2 is 1 over 2. You know that 2 is the same as 2 over 1. So reciprocal of it will be 1 over 2. Turn it upside down. If you have 1 over 3, reciprocal of it is 3 over 1, which is what? 3. So how to remove this is to take the inverse or reciprocal of the term inside the bracket. Therefore, this will give us, we want to remove this negative sign. We are going to take the reciprocal of the term inside the bracket. So it's going to give us b over a instead of a over b, all raised to power m over n. Okay, you see that we have turned this upside down to get b over a, and this negative index has disappeared. So this is how to solve this type of question. For example, if we have 6 over 4 all raised to power minus 3 over 2. For instance, this will give us, remember we are going to remove this negative sign and we take the inverse of the term inside the bracket to give us 4 over 6 raised to power 3 over 2. You see now that negative sign has disappeared. Okay, so this is how we can express this. And if the power is a fraction and 2 is the denominator of that fraction, this can be written as square root of 4 over 6 in brackets raised to power 3. Okay, because anytime you see that the power is a fraction and the denominator of that fraction is 2, just as you have it here, these 2 can be removed by replacing it with square root. Okay, just take the square root of the term inside the bracket and raise it to the power 3. This is how to solve this question. Now you begin to ask yourself, what is the square root of 4, which is 2? Okay, and what is the square root of 6? You use a calculator to find it, raise them to power 3, you get your answer. But I just want us to leave the answer like this because I'm explaining the laws of indices. I don't want us to go further here. Now let us explain this. Any number raised to power 0 is 1, so long as a is not equal to 0. For example, if I have 10 raised to power 0, it means the same thing as 1, so long as 10 is not equal to 0. Therefore, if I have 12 raised to power 0, it means 1. If I have 1 raised to power 0, it means 1. 2 raised to power 0 means 1. So any number raised to power 0 means 1. That is what this law is telling you. Now we go to the next one. We go to the next law, which is a negative index. Okay, a raised to power minus n. If you have a negative index and you want to express this in fraction, this negative represents 1 over, then you bring down a and raise it to power n. So this is how to express this in fraction. So if you have a raised to power n and you want to simplify this, it will give you 1 over. Because of this negative index, it means 1 over. That's the only way you can remove this negative index from here. So you bring down the a and raise it to power n. Okay, lastly, we have the law number 8. Okay, let us use an example. So here, if I have 2 raised to power minus 3, it means the same thing as 1 over 2 raised to power 3. And you know that 2 raised to power 3 is 8. So I have 1 over 8 as our answer here. So this is how to explain this law. Okay, now let us go to law number 8, which is the final one. If I have a raised to power m, this will give us, remember what I said earlier on. I said if I have, for example, if I have 6 raised to power 3 over 2, whenever the power is a fraction, 3 over 2 is a fraction and they are the power, and the denominator happens to be 2, please just take the square root of 6 and raise it to power 3. This is how to solve this question. and this is exactly what we have here. Okay, so if our a is 6 and m over n is 3 over 2, so this will give us the 2, which is the denominator, will be the square root. Okay, then you put a, which is 6, inside the bracket and raise it to power 3. So this is how to solve questions that involve this type of law. Now that we have seen how to solve questions that involve this law, let us now take one general example. Now let us use the knowledge of these laws to solve a simple question. Assuming we have this question to simplify, assuming we have 1 over x, that is 5 raised to power 1 over x, equals 1 over 25. We are asked to find the value of x. To do this, we know that 25 is the same thing as 5 raised to power 2, and this can be written as 5 raised to power 1 over x equals 1 over 5 raised to power 2. Now, this will give me 5 raised to power 1 over x equals 5 raised to power minus 2 because of this 1 over. Now, we have a common base. We are going to eliminate the base, especially whenever they are found on both sides. Common base found on both sides. We eliminate the base and equate the powers. So this is going to give us 1 over x equals minus 2. And to get the value of x, what we do is to cross multiply. Remember, this can be over 1, so that x multiply minus 2 will give us minus 2x equals 1 multiply 1 will give us 1. Okay. Now, to find the value of x, let's divide both sides by minus 2. Divide by minus 2, so that minus 2 will cancel minus 2. We are left with x equals minus 1 over 2. So this is the answer to this question. And you can see that we have applied certain laws of indices in solving this particular question. But before I go, I will give you one assignment, just a simple assignment for you to solve. Now, please solve this assignment for me. Simplify 27 raised to power 9 over 3. Simplify this problem for me. 27 raised to power 9 over 3. Thank you for watching. Do not forget that this tutorial was brought to you by Buchi Online Maths. So please share my videos and like my page.